Iowa versus South Carolina. I think this is a tough one, bro. It's a tough one. I love Dawn Staley. I love Dawn Staley, bro. I think she's next in line to be one of the great coaches in women's college basketball. She gonna be right up there with the Vanderveers, right up there with the Pat Summits, right up there with the Gino Oriamas. I think she's gonna be right there. I think her aura, her energy, her positive messaging. I love her. Say that she had that Louis V jacket on. I rocks with it. I rocks with the Louis V jacket she had on. She got swag, and she one of us. If you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying. I I mess with Dawn Staley, but I will say this: this is a classic David and Goliath story. Ain't no way South Carolina's undefeated. They kind of rolled through everybody in the NCAA tournament. They pretty much rolled through everybody in the SEC tournament outside of. It was a good game against LSU. It was a good game against Tennessee where Cardoso hit that the game winner three. But they pretty much they undefeated, man. I think they 37-0 at this point. They was upset by Iowa last season. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's hard for me to go against South Carolina in this game. Now, when I'm looking at the personnel, I'm looking at South Carolina, who they got. It's a David versus Goliath story. Camila Cardoso is projected to be a top 5 pick in the WNBA draft. Tahina Powell is one of the best shooters in America. Ashlyn Watkins is a wing, very versatile, very athletic. Raven Johnson has stepped up and she's become a better 3-point shooter. If I just don't see a way where Iowa wins this game, me being honest, if I'm looking at it on paper. But we all know basketball isn't played on paper. It isn't. But on paper, South Carolina should win this game, and they should win this game by at least 10. That's if everything is real. But if I was a betting man, I would bet on South Carolina. But just something tells me that I don't know, bro. Caitlin Clark and Iowa, their chemistry is just so good. Caitlin Clark is so good. I think the matchup I'm looking forward to the most is Hannah Storkey and Camila Cardoso, though, because I think the backcourts could potentially cancel each other out. The shooting of Tahina Powell, the defense of Ashlyn Watkins, if they do put her on Caitlin Clark, they got a game plan they could see from UConn. They could put Ashlyn Watkins on them. I think between Ashlyn Watkins, Raven Johnson, Tahina Powell, Malaysia Fuwali, she's the X factor for South Carolina, in my opinion. I think she's the girl version of Allen Iverson. I think she should be mentioned right up there with the Juju Watkins, the Hannah Hidalgos. I really like Malaysia Fuwali. But I just think the backcourt of South Carolina ultimately could cancel out either from three or just scoring in general of the backcourt from Iowa, and that includes Caitlin Clark and Kate Martin. I think Camila Cardoso will be just too much for Hannah Storkey. I don't see how Iowa pulls this off, but if they do, I think Caitlin Clark has to go for at least 40. I think Hannah Storkey has to have a double-double. I think Kate Martin has to hit big shots. I think Gabby Marshall. I just think the size on the perimeter is going to be a problem for Iowa. Maybe I'm thinking too in depth in this because it's one game, but anything can happen. But I just don't see how Iowa could overcome that size. They got perimeter shooting, they got perimeter defense, and I don't see where there's no advantage outside of Caitlin Clark that Iowa has, and I think even Caitlin Clark could be neutralized to a certain extent. So I'm going with South Carolina. But I will say this: if Caitlin Clark and Iowa pulls this off, This would be the single greatest run in basketball that I've seen with my own two eyes since Dirk in 2011. Now, yeah, I said it. This will be the single greatest run that I've seen since Dirk in 2011. Because if you look at that run, Dirk and the Mavericks, they beat OKC. I'm gonna do it in order. They beat the Lakers with Kobe and Powell after they win all them championships. They beat the Thunder with KD, Westbrook, and Harden. Then they backdoored and beat Miami and the Heatles. If Caitlin Clark could beat Angel Reese in LSU, she can beat UConn and Paige Beckers, Gino Oriana, and then backdoor and beat an undefeated South Carolina team, Camilla Cardoso and Dawn Staley. That championship, I look at it like Dirk's. It's one, but it's one of them ones. And I would definitely look at Caitlin Clark as one of the best women's basketball players to ever play in college basketball. And she go beyond them lists. So I heard what Breanna Stewart said. She needs a ring. And I do think a ring is necessary. But boy, if Caitlin Clark get a ring, and if she plays well in this championship game, that one ring, I ain't gonna say it's gonna equal up to 4 like what Breanna Stewart has. But that one ring, it's gonna mean a lot, bro.
Found some shit I love to do, so I can look comfortable. Searching for a peace of mind, need that when it's time to rhyme. Perfect in every line, any chance I get, and I know it takes time, but I will never quit.